Namaste. Welcome to today's class. We will be practicing intermediate asanas, a combination of Ashtanga primary series and some preparatory asanas for the next series after that. We can come into a comfortable seated asana with both hands resting on the knees or the thighs, with our eyes gently closed, bringing all our focus to our breathing. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders. Bringing both palms together for Namaskara Mudra, we can start by chanting the beginning mantra together. With a deep breath in. Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bringing both hands behind the back, we can inhale and lengthen our spine. Exhale and lean to the front, resting the forehead down on the ground or bringing it towards the ground for Yoga Mudrasana. With the next inhale, coming back up to our seat, bringing both hands to the front. With a few gentle blinks, we can open our eyes and get started with our asana practice. Slowly unlocking our legs from any seated asana that you chose to sit in, we can come to Dandasana. In Dandasana, we can focus on some gentle joint movements with our ankles and our wrists by pointing and flexing the toes away and towards us. You can include wrist movement by straightening your arms in line with your shoulders and opening and closing your fists. Trying to do this in a coordinated way with your breath. As you inhale, you can flex your toes, pointing them towards you. Exhaling, point your toes. You can continue with that for just a couple more breaths. 2 more breaths here. Great. Keeping the shoulders engaged will help you have a lengthy spine. From here, you can start with wrist rotations. You can take your wrists away from you and towards you. Your feet, we can keep them pointed away from us for some time. When you change the direction, you can flex your toes. Again, in order to have a nice and lengthy spine, think about pressing through the sitting bones down into the ground. Try to press your legs into the ground. You can change the direction now. Start flexing your feet, changing the direction of the wrist movement, keeping the spine nice and lengthy, keeping the neck and the shoulders relaxed here. Focus is still on breathing nicely, coordinated with our movements. From there, we can start bending the knees, bringing the hands on either side of the thighs or the hips. We can get comfortable here and slowly start crossing the ankles. Make some rolling and rocking movements. So as you inhale, you can lift the hips. Try to press the outside edges of your feet into the ground. As you exhale, lift your feet off of the ground. Inhaling, hips off of the ground. Exhaling, your feet off of the ground. Remember that we are pressing with the outside edges of the feet. This is the practice of getting into Tolasana. Also helps you build strength in your arms and engage the Mula Bandha, or the core area. Awesome. Let's change the ankles. The next time you sit, you can cross and bring the left ankle in front of the right. Or if you were doing it any other way, you can switch to the next ankle and practice the same preparation for Tolasana. That's perfect. One last time. Try and breathe only through the nostrils if possible, unless you have blocked nose. From there, while you do these rolling and rocking movements, you can try and come up to standing. But if you're taking a tiny break in between, you can also take that and then try and come up to standing. So here you could use your hands or come up directly with the help of pressing the outside edges of your feet into the ground. We'll come up to the front edge of the mat and start with Tadasana. Here we will try 3 rounds of Vinyasa A and 3 rounds of Vinyasa B. And we'll go in depth of these practices in a later video, so you can stay tuned. Tadasana, inhale and exhale. Ekam, Parvatasana, inhale. Dve, Uttanasana, exhale. Trini, Urdhva Uttanasana, inhale. Chatvari, Chaturanga Dandasana, exhaling, jumping or walking back. Inhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhaling, Utkatasana. You can again walk or jump to the front to come into Utkatasana. Exhaling, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana, to stay here for 5 deep and long breaths. You can use the practice of Ujjayi breathing, of making a hissing sound with your throat while you breathe. This is optional. If you are comfortable with it, if you've practiced it before, you can use it, or you can just breathe normally. Your feet can be apart here in Adho Mukha Svanasana. You can count your 5 breaths. Some of us will breathe fast, some of us will breathe slowly. So we can have our own 5 counts here. On your 5th inhale, lift your heels, exhaling, jump or walk to the front, or like cat did, just walk to the front. Urdhva Uttanasana, exhale, Purna Uttanasana. Inhale, Parvatasana. Exhaling, relax in Tadasana. Round number 2. Ekam, inhale, Parvatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Uttanasana. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, walking or jumping back. Inhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Walking or jumping to the front for Utkatasana with an inhale. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana again. Inhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Staying here for 5 deep and long breaths. Here we have a couple options in order to lengthen the shoulders. You can also try to bend the knees slightly and try to push your belly towards the thighs. We can show other options in the next variation. On your 5th inhale, try to lift the heels. We'll show this one now. Try to lift the heels with an inhale. Exhaling, bend the knees, bring the hips to the heels, and then walk or jump to the front. This will help you build the strength in your thighs. Urdhva Uttanasana, exhale, Purna Uttanasana. Inhale, Parvatasana, lengthening all the way up to the ceiling. Exhaling, relax in Tadasana. Last round for Vinyasa A. Ekam, Parvatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana Dve. Trini, inhale Urdhva Uttanasana. Chatvari, exhale Chaturanga Dandasana. Pancha, inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Shat, exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Sapta, Utkatasana, inhale. Ashtau, Chaturanga Dandasana, exhale. Nava, inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Dasha, exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Staying here for 5 breaths again. The other option in comparison to the shoulders, so last time we stretched out the shoulders, this time we are stretching out the hamstrings, the calf muscles and the ankles. So here we can try and press the heels firmly into the mat. And it's okay if your spine is rounding in this one. And again, on your 5th inhale, you can lift the heels optionally and jump to the front with bent knees, or you can do this however you like. You can walk or jump to the front. Inhaling Urdhva Uttanasana, Ekadasha, Dvadasha, exhale Purna Uttanasana. Trayodasha, inhale Parvatasana. Chaturdasha, exhale Tadasana. Relax. Great. We can take a couple breaths and rest here before we start with Vinyasa B. So Vinyasa A had Chaturdasha, 14 steps. Vinyasa B will have 18 steps. We'll add 4 more movements to it. Getting mentally prepared to start with Vinyasa B. We start with Tadasana, Malasana and Utkatasana. It's a different variation than what you might be used to if you've been practicing Ashtanga primary series. But you can follow along and you'll be just fine. Tadasana, inhale. Exhaling, bend down as much as you can, as if you were going to Malasana. From there, push up to Utkatasana. Exhaling, Chaturanga Uttanasana. Inhaling, Urdhva Uttanasana. Exhaling, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Here you can bring the right leg to the front for Virabhadrasana A. Inhale, exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bring the left leg to the front for Virabhadrasana A. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana for 5 breaths, deep and long breaths. Again, we'll go in detail in each of these asanas to explain what they are, how you do them. In case you are just starting out, don't worry if this is hard to follow. Taking nice, deep and long breaths. This is meant for us to relax a little bit, to stretch out different parts of the body. Again, we do have the option here as well to lift the heels and jump to the front at the 5th inhale and exhale, but you can also just walk to the front. Urdhva Uttanasana, inhale, Purna Uttanasana, exhale. Along with bending to the front, we also bring the hips down and then press up to Utkatasana. And then we finish in Tadasana again. Great. Tadasana, inhale and exhale fully. Once more, Tadasana, inhale. Exhale, Malasana. Think of bending down all the way as much as possible. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Uttanasana. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, inhale. Adho Mukha Svanasana, exhale. Bring the right leg to the front for Virabhadrasana A. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bring the left leg to the front as you inhale for Virabhadrasana A. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Staying here for 5 breaths. One more thought process that I would like to share in downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana is the thought of trying to get the hips as high as possible to the ceiling. This will also help you create the V shape that we generally see practitioners stay in. For those of us with tight hamstrings, we will be struggling with bringing the heels down. So in that case, you can bend the knees slightly and try the first variation of straightening or stretching out your shoulders. On your 5th inhale and exhale, you can walk or jump to the front. Urdhva Uttanasana. Exhale Purna Uttanasana. Bringing the hips down along with our forward fold, we can rise up to Utkatasana and then rest in Tadasana. Taking one complete breath here so that we are prepared for the next round. Tadasana, inhale once more. Exhaling Malasana, lowering down as much as you can. Ekam, inhale Utkatasana. Dve, exhale Uttanasana. Trini, inhale Urdhva Uttanasana. Chatvari, exhale Chaturanga Dandasana. Pancha, inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Shat, exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Sapta, right leg to the front. Inhale Virabhadrasana A. Ashtau, exhale Chaturanga Dandasana. Nava, inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Dasha, exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Ekadasha, left leg to the front. Inhaling Virabhadrasana A. Dvadasha, exhale Chaturanga Dandasana. Trayodasha, inhale Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Chaturdasha, exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana for 5 breaths. You can use Ujjayi breathing or normal breathing here. Feel free to breathe as fast or as slow as you can, as you like. If you need some extra breaths here, you can always take them, especially since it's the last round. You can stay there for a bit longer if you need a break. On the 5th inhale, lifting the heels, exhaling, bending the knees, jumping or walking to the front. Panchadasha, inhale Urdhva Uttanasana. Shurdasha, exhale Purna Uttanasana. Saptadasha, inhale Utkatasana. Ashtadasha, exhale Tadasana. So 18 steps are done here. Great. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Taking a break, you can stand in Shitali Tadasana so that you can, if you feel a little breathless or feel a bit tired, you can take a break. One more important thing you can keep in mind is that in YouTube we have a setting to lower the speed of the video or make it faster. So you can feel free to change the speed of this video so it's easier for you to follow along. The next 2 asanas will be dealt with forward folding. So keeping the feet about hip width distance apart, you can keep facing the front of the mat. I will just ask Kat to face the camera so you can see it properly, but you can keep facing the front of the mat if you like. Great. So we'll bring both hands to the waist, inhaling, lengthening the spine. Exhaling, we can lean to the front, bend all the way down. Feet are again hip width distance apart. Here we will bring our fingers and grab a hold of the big toe of both the feet with the first 2 fingers and the thumb for Padangushtasana. Inhaling, lengthen the spine, lengthen the elbows, look to the front. Exhaling, bend the elbows. Try to think of bringing the crown of the head down to the ground. We'll stay here for 5 breaths again. 1, 2, 3. Here you can bring your elbows close to the shin bones. 4. On the 5th inhale, you can lengthen the spine, lengthen the elbows again. And slowly get your palms underneath the feet. For Pada Hastasana. Pada are the feet, Hasta are the hands or the palms. Again, inhaling, lengthen the spine, lengthen the elbows. Exhaling, try to get the crown of the head down towards the ground. We do want to try and create space here between the neck and the shoulders so that we don't have any kind of strain in that area. Again, go as far as you like. You can always bend the knees as well. While you stay here in 5 breaths, you don't have to have a straight knee in the forward fold. Keep taking deep and long breaths. Once you're done, you can again lengthen the spine, bring both hands to the waist. Again, we are counting our own 5 breaths depending on how fast or slow we are going. You can tuck in your chin to the base of the neck and slowly round your spine as you come up, or you can come up with a straight spine. Do this any way that you feel comfortable. Make sure not to come up with any jerky movements or too fast so that you don't feel dizzy. You can bring both legs together to begin with. Then you can step both legs about 4 to 4.5 steps apart. So you can measure this a couple ways. One way is to think of measuring it from the hips all the way to the heels. So that's how long the distance between both the feet can be. Another easy way is to straighten your arms to the sides, and roughly where your wrists line, that's where your outer edge of your feet will be. And that will feel comfortable. You could go further and take your fingertips as the source of measurement, but take as much distance as you feel comfortable with. The next asanas are side bends. We will slowly bring both hands to the waist, turn the right toes to the right side, realign the hip. You will notice how the hip goes out of line. We'll realign it, the shoulders and the hips. Lengthen both hands in either side. Your palms can face to the front. This is a very starting process that you can use to feel comfortable with Trikonasana. Let's lean over to the right side for 5 breaths again. You can count your 5 breaths. Do this as fast or as slow as you feel comfortable with. Now, if you can reach all the way to your toes, you can grab a hold of them and try to have a lengthy spine by pulling your shoulders and hands up to the ceiling. But again, it's not necessary because you will notice how the alignment is little lost. So here you can press your knuckles into the shin bone. You can come back up to standing whenever you're done with the 5 breaths. So you can see how the knuckles are being pressed into the shin bone by having the palm facing to the front. We can bring both hands to the waist if you're up here, and then turn the right toes in, turn the left toes out. We'll continue with our practice on the left side of Trikonasana. Inhaling, straighten the arms to the sides. Exhaling, lean over to the left toe. Again, you don't have to worry about reaching the toe unless you naturally are able to do that. That's okay. If not, you can press with your knuckles into the left shin bone. You can imagine this as a way for you to use leverage. So the moment you press into the shin bone, you have a nice opportunity to align both shoulders and open up your body. Here we are trying to press the left hip to the front and pull the right hip back so that we are in alignment here. The same thing applies to the other side. The right hip would be pushed front, left hip to be pushed back or pulled back. Great, we can come back up. We'll bring both hands to the waist. Now, in between here, if your thighs get tired, you can always bring your feet together, take a bit of break. Otherwise, if you feel comfortable, we'll turn in the left toes as much as possible while we turn the right toes out. Now, we'll think about squaring our hips and the shoulders in line with the right toes. So you can turn your hips and your shoulders towards the right toe. and you can already start in this position. One easy way I like to think of it is that if I had my right knee bent, you can bend the right knee, you get into the base of warrior A. So sometimes I even start here. Yes, so you can think of this asana, but then straighten this knee, and you can again change the distance based on your comfort. Now we will bring the opposite hand to the opposite foot. So your right foot is in the front, left hand goes down either on top of the foot or here inside, or preferably at the end of the asana. So the end pose is where you have your hand outside the foot, and you twist and look up. A couple different variations you can do. You can stay here for 5 breaths. Couple different variations are to bend your elbow, bring your fingers to the shoulders. This will avoid any unrequired strain in this area of the shoulder and the back. If you use your elbows to twist, you will feel more comfortable. But if you have been practicing this for some time, you will feel more comfortable with your elbows straight. Optionally, you can look up to the ceiling or look down to your fingers on the ground. Great. Here you can make use of blocks or any other props that you need. We'll slowly come back up, bring both hands to the waist. We'll turn both toes to the left side now. You can even come into Virabhadrasana A just to get your knees and hips and your shoulders nice and aligned. Then you can slowly start straightening the knee and bringing the right hand down to the ground. Left hand goes up to the ceiling. If you're not using blocks and if you cannot reach the ground with the right hand, you can always use your fingertips. So you can have straight fingertips, straight fingers, press the tips into the mat, and then you get some additional distance coverage with your hand there. But if you're able to bring your palm completely flat on the mat, then great. Even here, in terms of the hips, we can pull the left hip and push the right hip. The same for the other side, we would pull the right hip and push the left hip. Just to bring alignment in the body. We can slowly come back. Again, feel free to take a break at any moment. If you are comfortable to continue, we will turn the right toes to the right side. With the hands at the waist, we'll get into Parshva Konasana, which is a side angle pose. What we did until now was Trikonasana, triangle pose. These are side angle. Knee is bent, the right knee is bent, and then we can slowly lean to the right side. We have a couple different placements of the hand. You can place it on your knee or your thighs to feel comfortable, where your upper arm is in line with your ears. If you are more comfortable, you can place your fingers down in front of your foot or towards the back. But you can choose what's more comfortable. If you choose to place the hand in the back, again, the left arm is in line with your ears. If you choose to place your hand in the front, your left arm is straight up to the ceiling. Just some tiny changes here, which you might have to take a look at. But choose any variation of your choice. We are practicing Parshva Konasana for 5 breaths on the right side. You can apply the same hip movements here, pulling the left, pushing the right. Once you're done with the 5 breaths, you can slowly come back up. You can also take help of your thighs to come up. We'll practice the same on the left side. Parshva Konasana. So cat placed her left hand in front of the foot, so the right hand is straight up. If she changes the left hand to the back of the foot or outside the foot, then the right hand gets straight here, in line with her right ears. Again, we are applying the same hip rotation of pushing the left hip and pulling the right hip back. And you will notice this, whenever you tilt to the side, one hip will try to cave in. That's the one we are pulling back. The one which goes back, we are trying to push to the front. Great. We can slowly come back up. Now we have Parivritta Parshva Konasana, or a twisted side angle pose. So again, feel free to take a break before doing this one. Otherwise, if you're ready, both toes are roughly pointing to one side. We'll start with the right side. You can also think of Virabhadrasana A again in this one. And even the knee is bent, so it's quite the perfect base asana. After Virabhadrasana A, or just turning to the right side, you will bring the opposite elbow. So the left elbow will get locked outside the right thigh. And you are still maintaining your prayer pose and trying to get your right elbow up to the ceiling. You don't have to look up there, but if you feel comfortable, you can. Again, we are pulling the right hip back, pushing the left hip to the front, creating more and more alignment here. If you feel like you're losing balance a bit too much here, you can always step the back foot slightly to its own direction or pull the front foot towards this direction, towards its own direction. So you don't have to maintain this imaginary straight line going from the front heel to the back. If you do maintain it, it's great. It's something that if you've been practicing for a long time, you will feel comfortable with. But if not, you can change that placement. Let's try the same on the other side. So we start with Virabhadrasana A and then lock the right elbow outside the left thigh. We can look up to the ceiling or to the left elbow. Great. So again here we can pull the left hip in, push the right hip to the front. Again, in any of these asanas, if you stay anywhere from 2 to 5 breaths, that should be good enough. We are just giving our body an experience in these asanas, so you don't have to stay there for too long. Again, here if you need to, you can take a couple breaths of relaxation, or we can start with Prasarita Padottanasana. We have 4 variations of this. We'll practice 5 breaths in each variation. Hands are at the waist. If you need to bring your legs together, you can, or we can start. Inhaling, lengthen the spine. Exhaling, we can fold all the way to the front, placing the palms in line with the heels. Great. So here again, we are trying to think of it from the perspective of the crown of the head. We are trying to get the crown of the head down to the ground. Preferably both feet are parallel to each other in this asana. Our wrists, so the base of your palms, the starting part of your wrist is lining up with your heels. So there is a straight line going from one heel to the other with your palms or the base of the palms lining up with it. And this will allow us to bend the elbows. Again, we are practicing 5 breaths in each variation. In between each variation, we'll bring both hands to the waist. We will lengthen the spine, bring both hands to the waist. We don't need to come up all the way. We will again bend to the front. For the second variation, the hands are at the waist. The elbows are nicely engaged. We are mainly depending on our legs to take the weight of the body. The glutes are nicely engaged. The outer thighs are nicely engaged. Even the calf muscles are completely engaged. Sometimes we might have a tendency to lean further back. Stay somewhere in a neutral position so that your heels or your toes are not doing too much work. Great. Inhaling, lengthen the spine. Exhaling, you can interlock your fingers behind the back. And with your next exhale, you can lean to the front for the third variation. Great. Your forward fold will determine how far your hands come away from the hips. If you are very comfortable with the forward fold, your hands can even touch the ground. But wherever you are right now, try to stay comfortable so that you can breathe properly in these asanas. Your feet are still parallel. Most likely the outside edges will be pressing a lot at this moment. Try to also bring some effort on the inside edges. So the base of your toes, the inside edge of your heel, pressed in completely. Inhaling, coming up halfway. Exhaling, we will grab a hold of the big toe on both the legs with the first 2 fingers and the thumb. Inhaling, lengthen. Exhaling, we will bend to the front. Again, here we can see how cat has this distance between the shoulders and the ears nicely to avoid any strain for the neck. That's perfect. Great. Again, in all these asanas, we can stay anywhere from 3 2 breaths, 5 breaths, all of it is good. Just getting a sense of how it feels. At the end, we can again stay halfway parallel to the ground. To come up, you can either tuck in your chin to the base of the neck, round the spine, or come up with a straight spine. Take your time when you come up. You can then step the left leg to the right leg and bring both legs, both feet in one line at the front edge of the mat. We'll start with Parshvottanasana, which is a forward fold with the legs spread apart. So here we'll stand in Tadasana. We have a couple options here, and if you could turn away from the camera, we can show these options. So one option is for you to come into a Paschim Namaskar. So you come into a reverse Namaste. If this is comfortable for you, you can try this. If not, you can grab a hold of your elbows behind the back or your wrists or the forearms. Wherever you reach, you can try this. What we basically want is, you can see the shoulder blades here, how they are popping out. This is the engagement of the upper back and the shoulder blades that we are looking for. So regardless of whichever variation you choose, that will be happening. So choose these and try this asana. So we can first have the hands at the waist. A safe way to do it is to start with hands at the waist, or you can already start with Paschim Namaskar if you've been practicing for a long time. The left leg will come back. You can roughly bring it back around 3 to 5 steps back away from the front leg. Come back as much as possible until you feel that you can keep your hips aligned with the shoulders. If the alignment is lost, then we are doing this not in the proper way. So we'll try to keep the alignment going. From here, we can come to our hand gesture, either Paschim Namaskar or holding on to our arms. Then with a nice and lengthy spine, with lower abdominal muscles engaged so that the lower back is not arched, we can lean all the way to the front, or as much as we can. And we'll stay here for 5 breaths. Now, normally we will see that when we lean to the front, especially in Paschim Namaskar, the base of the palms are going away from each other. So here we can keep practicing, trying to bring them close to each other, but don't worry too much if this happens. Another thing we can work on is constantly trying to lift the elbows away from the ground. Great. Perfect. We can come up. Again, you can already bring the hands, the palms to the waist, and then turn your toes to the left side before you get into Paschim Namaskar or get into Parshvottanasana. Or you can continue with the Paschim Namaskar and then go directly to the left side. Perfect. Again, we will try and bring awareness to the hips. Left hip pulled back, right hip pulled to the front. The opposite will apply in the opposite direction. Again, you will see how cat has this perfect line going through both the heels. But if you feel like you're losing balance constantly, then it's completely fine if you have your heels not aligned on the mat. So this asana is also a forward fold Parshvottanasana. The next asana is Uttita Hasta Padangushtasana, for which we'll bring both legs together at the front edge of the mat. Again, you can keep facing in that direction. Cat, if you can face the camera and we can show this asana properly. Starting with Tadasana, we'll go really step by step. Try to use these steps to build strength, especially if you're just starting out. With both hands at the waist, you can inhale and exhale there. With your next inhale, bring the right knee in line with the right hip. Perfect. Bring your right hand and grab a hold of the right big toe. Great, great. And you can stay here. You don't have to go further than this, as long as you can balance there. If you are comfortable, try to keep the knee and the shoulder relatively close to each other as you straighten your leg to the front. Basically, you're stretching the knee to the front, basically. Great. Taking nice and deep breaths, your focus can be to the big toe. or down to the ground. Again, we are trying different variations here. You can take a break between each of these variations, or you can continue with cat. When you finish your 5 breaths, the next variation is Parshva Hasta Padangushtasana, where the leg comes to the side. Great. So here you can keep thinking of bringing your toe up above the head. So this is what we are working towards, to bring the toe up above here. So if you still have your knee bent close to your armpit, that's a great thing, because you can work on bringing the toes in line with your shoulders or in line with your head. We'll move into Mukta Hasta Padangushtasana, where you can let go of the toe, try to maintain the height of the leg. Optionally, you can lengthen your hands up. Sometimes I feel like my spine curls like this when I try to balance there. So in that sense, you can lengthen the hands up. It will help you have a lengthy spine. We can start with the same practices on the left leg. Starting in Tadasana, at any moment take a break, get your breath back, and then start. Grabbing a hold of the left big toes whenever you feel balanced on the right foot, and then just think of straightening the left knee. You can also just stay here, but if you are going to straighten, think of just straightening the left knee. Again, even here, try to think of bringing the toe up above the head, above the line of the head. This is Utthita Hasta Padangushtasana. Again, we are doing 5 breaths in each of these variations. We have 3 of them today that we are practicing. One is with the leg straight, one is with the leg to the side, and one is with letting go of your hands. Perfect. 5 breaths with Mukta Hasta Padangushtasana. That's the variation of the hands above the head. Great. And we can rest in Tadasana. The next asana is Ardha Padma Baddha Paschimottanasana. So it's a long name. So we'll try to show each and every step one by one. Starting with Tadasana, again your hands can be at the waist or on the side of the thighs. We will again bring the right knee in line with the right hip to start with. This can be the base of all our balancing asanas. With the help of the right hand, we can grab a hold of the right ankle and bring the right heel to the belly button, trying to balance here. We'll stay here. We don't have to go further from this if you are just working on balance. If you are comfortable, you can slowly start bending to the front, going all the way down. When you feel like your leg is bound with your belly and your thighs, you can bring both hands down to the ground. Optionally, if you feel comfortable, you can take your right hand from behind the back and grab and grip a hold of your right toes. So this is the half lotus, Ardha Padma, part of the name of the asana. We'll stay here for 5 breaths. Grabbing onto the toe is not necessary. It's something we can work towards in the future. To come out, you can slowly let go of the toe first. Let go of your lotus. And as you come up, start grabbing a hold of your right foot. Whenever you can reach it, bring the knee along with you up there. Slowly let go. So this will keep your knee safe. Straighten the knee first before placing the leg down to the ground. Slowly bringing the leg down. We'll try and follow all these steps on the left side as well. These are mainly to keep the knee joint safe so that there is no jerky motion, there is no losing of balance. Helping our heel to come to the belly button. So preferably it comes to the belly button. For some of us with tight hips or not enough practice, we might have to bring it to the thigh as well. So that's also okay. We can also bring it to the other thigh. Once you feel that your leg is being gripped by the belly and the thighs, you can start with Ardha Padma or Ardha Baddha Padma. Again, you might notice in many of these balancing asanas that the outside of your leg is working a lot. Try to also put an effort from the base of the toe and the inner edge of your heel. You can keep your arch lifted, but if you try to press through all parts of your foot, you will feel much more comfortable in holding on to these asanas for a longer period of time. So first you let go of your half lotus. As you come up, you take your leg with you. You take your knee with you. And then slowly straighten the knee. Try to keep the leg up in the air for just a couple seconds and then bring it down slowly from there. The next asana is Utkatasana. We can go to the front edge of the mat again, or you can stay wherever you are and slowly start with Utkatasana. So to come into Utkatasana, we will use a vinyasa. So I will just guide you through that. Tadasana, inhale and exhale. Ekam, inhale, Parvatasana. Dve, exhale, Uttanasana. Trini, inhale, Urdhva Uttanasana. Chatvari, exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We can walk or jump to the front and stay in Utkatasana from there. Again, we are staying here for 5 breaths. The knees are together, thighs are pressing against each other, hips are lowering down. It's okay for the knees to be a little behind the toes or slightly to the front, as long as you feel stable, as long as you're feeling a nice press between your thighs and your knees, you have a good Utkatasana. It will keep your lower abdominal muscles engaged. Great. We can go to Chaturanga Dandasana after this. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We'll bring the right leg to the front for Virabhadrasana A for 5 breaths again. Taking deep and long breaths. That's perfect. Once we are done with Virabhadrasana A, we will switch to Virabhadrasana B. How we do that is just by opening up the back foot to the side, trying to push the right hip to the front, pulling the left hip back, and looking to the fingers in the same direction as the bent knee. Since the right knee is bent, we look at the right fingers. 5 breaths here as well. Sometimes some of us have a tendency to bring the shoulders up. We'll try to relax the neck and the shoulders. And we can windmill the arms down to Chaturanga Dandasana from there. These vinyasas in between are optional. If you feel tired to do them, you don't have to. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We'll bring the left leg to the front for Virabhadrasana A. Traditionally, we keep the direction, we maintain the same direction. So we started facing this side of the room, so we are constantly facing that side with any asana that we do. But again, it's something you can work on in the long run. Perfect. Again, here if you feel like you're losing balance, you don't have to maintain the straight line between each heel. You can always step out with any leg. Looking to the left fingers because the left knee is bent. And again here you will notice that the hips go slightly out of alignment. So we will push the left hip to the front and pull the right hip back. Windmill the arms back down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling, rising up to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhaling, Adho Mukha Svanasana. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, we will lie down on the belly to start with our back bending practices of Bhujangasana. We have different variations of Bhujangasana. Just to keep it nice and simple today, we will try to show one variation and continue that for 5 breaths. So we can choose a variation that we like and try and stick to it. Your feet will be together in Bhujangasana. Regardless of the variation, try and keep the feet together. And you can choose a variation of your choice to come up to Bhujangasana. Great. So cat is choosing with the arms down to the ground. So this is what we will stick with, taking 5 deep and long breaths. The main thing I want you to know here is that the breathing happens through the sides of the rib cage, not through the belly. Regardless of the variation, breathing happens through the sides. You want to push your ankles against each other, heels against each other. Makes you feel much more stable. You can try and shift the weight down to the bottom part of the body. This is the variation with the fingers interlocked. You can also choose to do this one. Great. But we don't have to stay here for more than 5 breaths. We can go to Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing and downward facing dog. This is very continuous throughout our practice. So you can add it in. Even if I don't say it or show it to you, you can always add this between each asana. We'll lie back down on the belly and move into the next asana, which is Shalabhasana. For Shalabhasana, we will also keep the legs together, the feet together, thighs, knees together. We will start in this variation. We will bring the palms underneath the hips here, between the ground and the hips. Great. This variation is amazing because you get the activation of the upper back from that you have in Bhujangasana as well by bending your elbows in towards yourself. So you have this activation, your forehead is resting comfortably on the ground. Now the hip is pressing into the ground, so you are trying to lengthen the lower back by engaging the lower abdomen. Therefore breathing happens through the sides and you start lifting both legs together. Start pressing your legs against each other and start lifting them off of the ground. Even the knees are slightly lifted off of the ground. Try to go as high as you can with your legs. Your toes can be strongly pointed away from you. If you have any neck pain or some discomfort with your forehead, you can choose to bring your chin on the ground as well. Or you can avoid this by placing your arms on either side of your body instead of underneath the hips if you have any neck problems. We'll go to Chaturanga, upward and downward facing. Optionally, if you are tired of this, you don't have to do this practice in between. The next asana is Bekasana. We'll show Ekapada Bekasana because that's what most of us are comfortable with. So for Bekasana, we will start with the legs apart slightly. We'll come into a Sphinx pose with the forearms down. We'll bring the left palm. So from the Sphinx pose, bring the left palm underneath the right elbow as you raise the right elbow up. Great. So the left hand is now the base of the pressure where you can press the ground away from you. You can bend the right knee to bring the right heel close to the belly. Grab a hold of your right ankle from inside. So your palm goes from inside of the ankle and your fingers go towards the outside of the foot. Great. You can stop here now. You can also stay here. Try to keep both shoulders in one line. If possible, you can start with the grip where your fingers face to the front. This will help you lengthen your elbows up to the ceiling or point the elbows up to the ceiling. We can take anywhere from 2 to 5 breaths on this side and then repeat the same practice on the other side. The left side will be easier for you all to see how this asana is being done. Then you can directly bring the right forearm down to the ground, bend the left knee. So as you can see, she's gripping the left leg in a way that her palm is at the inside edge of the ankle. Fingers are moving to the outside edge of the ankle. Then all you have to do is turn your fingers to face the front so that the base of your palm is pressing into the leg. But be mindful of your knee. We don't want to hurt the knee here. Try to keep your shoulders aligned with each other. Keep pressing the ground away from you. You also have the straight leg here. So your right leg is also there as a base to press into the ground. Amazing. Again, we have Chaturanga, upward facing and downward facing dog, but it is completely optional. The next asana is Dhanurasana, bow pose. Again, for bow pose, the forehead is resting on the ground, upper back is engaged, ankles are held from outside, and then we slowly start lifting the knees off of the ground, and then we start lifting the forehead off of the ground. You can also do this in the other way, first lift the forehead, then the knees, but I have found that once you lift the forehead, it's harder to lift the knees later. So you can start with the hard part and end with the easy part. Again, breathing happens through the sides of the body. If you breathe through the belly, you will feel a strong pressure going against your belly off the ground. So try to breathe through the sides. Use the intercostal muscles, not the diaphragm. There will still be some tiny amount of breath going through the diaphragm, but we'll keep it minimum. Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing and downward facing. Optional, you don't have to, but if you do, then you will feel ready for the next asana, which is Dandasana. We can walk, jump through, or step through both the hands. So both your hands are on the mat, both your palms are on the mat, and then we walk, jump through, or step through, or slide through to sit in Dandasana. Perfect. And we stay here in Dandasana for 5 breaths. Great. Okay, great. We are back in Dandasana. From Dandasana, we can lengthen both hands up above the head and slowly lean to the front for Paschimottanasana. You can grab a hold of your toes, your ankles, your shin bones. You can also bend the knees. Let's show this variation. You can bend the knees and bring them close up above the ground. Bring your belly to your thighs and then slowly slide to the front. By holding on to your toes, you can slide to the front. So you can slide or step your heels to the front one at a time to get into a relaxed Paschimottanasana. You can stop wherever you feel comfortable. You don't have to straighten the knees completely. Again, we stay here for 5 breaths. We have 3 different variations of Paschimottanasana that we can go through today. Whenever you're done, you can just lengthen your elbows, come up with a nice and lengthy spine, and then slowly get the base of your palms, this area, over your toes. Think of these as the toes. Get the base of the palm over the toes, so that your palm is completely wrapped around your base of the foot. Something like this. But this is happening with both the hands as we get into Paschimottanasana. These are just ways for us to get deeper into the forward fold. So again, feel free to keep the knees as bent as you like throughout these variations. For the last variation, we are trying to grab a hold of the wrist like this around the foot. Something like this. Grabbing a hold of the foot by getting the wrist in the other hand. Again, this can be done with the knees bent. So you can start with the knees bent, belly and thighs together. Grab a hold of both the feet and then slide the leg to the front or step the heels to the front. You can also grab a hold of the fingers like this or like this around your foot. Taking deep and long breaths. We also have 5 breaths in this last variation. Amazing. From there we can cross our ankles. We'll start with the right ankle over the left ankle. So this is similar to what we started with in the beginning. We cross our ankles while we sit with the knees bent. Yes, so we are practicing jump throughs. So in jump throughs, there are different placements of our palms. So here you can either start with the palms in line with the hips. I prefer to have my palms at the center between the knees and the hips so that I get some leverage to jump back. But here we are just getting started. So think of Tolasana again. Start with Tolasana. Inhaling, lift the heels or the hips. Exhaling, lift the heels. Exhaling, lift the feet. Inhaling, lift the hips. Great. So you can try and see where you feel more comfortable placing your arms. You want the back a little curved so that you can step with your legs back. The further the hands are to the front, I feel that the easier it is to step back. Once you get your hips up, so here I will try to help you. Once you get the hips up, try to keep lifting them up. The higher the hips go, the less your feet have to drag through the ground, and you can come back to Chaturanga Dandasana. This can be done by jumping or walking back, upward and downward facing. And this will be our last asana for today, Ardha Padma Paschimottanasana. We can again walk or jump back in the same way that we came back to downward facing. We will jump through the hands or walk through the hands with the right ankle in the front, left in the back. We will come to Dandasana to start with. Then we will slowly bring the right heel to the belly button or to the left hip based on how comfortable you are. And then we can raise both hands up above the head and lean to the front. Again, the left knee can stay bent as we lean to the front if the hamstrings are tight. Ardha Padma Paschimottanasana. Those of us with knee problems, with hip problems, with neck problems, we can avoid this asana by keeping the leg not in a half lotus. Instead, we can keep it next to the thigh on the ground like this. This is also a great variation. It's the next asana that we do called Janu Shirshasana. But we won't do that today. This one will be the last one. We can straighten the right leg. We'll get the left leg in. Just so that we have a view of it, Kat, could you show that? Instead of Paschimottanasana, just place the foot to the side. You can also use this one. But just for your practice, you can get into half lotus because you did that on the right side, Kat. But just to show everyone that you can get your foot to the side of the thigh and bend to the front. Same thing, just a different placement of the foot, of the heel and the foot. Try and take deep and long breaths here. Again, even here, the lower abdomen is getting engaged, almost as if you're pulling the abdomen in. It'll help you lengthen the spine. We can try and bring the elbows down to the ground, but first we can think of keeping the knee bent, the belly and the thighs together in our forward folds. That looks perfect. To come out, we can just unlock our leg from half lotus, straighten it in Dandasana. We will interlock our ankles, this time with the left ankle in front of the right one, so that we have both sides covered. Hands are on either side of the body. You can try and practice some Tolasanas. Whenever you're ready to jump or walk back, try to think of lifting the hips up to the ceiling. Try to lift the hips as high as you can away from the ground. This will help you jump or slide back with your legs. Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing, and the last downward facing for today. If you want to stay there for some time, just get a nice length in the back. Once we are done with this, you can rest in Shavasana. You can slowly lie down in Shavasana. So we've covered the first 3 lines of our chart, of the bases of our Ashtanga primary series, with some tiny additions. Like for Vinyasa B, we did some different movements to start with. We added some steps in the traditional practice. So here we can lie down in Shavasana. Let the right and the left toes fall to either side. Your palms are facing up to the ceiling. Your entire body is resting from the toes all the way to the crown of the head. Experiencing complete relaxation here. Letting the weight of the entire body fall into the mat. Experience the complete silence inside and outside to use it for your relaxation. Bring your focus to some of the major joints of the body. Try to relax these one at a time, starting with the ankles, relaxing them completely, moving to the knees, relaxing them completely. Moving to the hip joint, relaxing the hips completely. Moving to the shoulders and the neck. Relaxing them completely. Moving into the elbows, relaxing them completely. Shifting the awareness to the wrists, the knuckles, and the fingers. And relaxing them completely. Let these joints be the centers of relaxation, where you allow this feeling to spread throughout the rest of the body, throughout the rest of the muscles, bones, ligaments and tendons around these joints. Bringing the focus back to our neck. We can start by relaxing the jaw. Relaxing the cheeks. Relaxing the area above and below the upper and the lower lip. Relaxing the area around the nose. Relaxing the tip of the nose. Relaxing the area around our eyes. Relaxing the eyebrows. Relaxing the forehead and the sides of the head. Relaxing the area around the ears. Relaxing the back of the head. And last but not the least, relaxing the crown of the head. Thereby relaxing the entire body from the toes to all the different joints, to the spine, to the rib cage, all the way to the crown of the head. Making gentle movements with the fingers and the toes, bringing little sensations to the extremities of the body. Making movements with the wrists and the ankles. Coming back to the present moment. We can start bringing both our legs together, interlocking the fingers on top of our belly and raising the hands above the head to stretch in Yashtikasana, where the toes are away from the body, the hands are away from the body. You can bring the left hand back to the belly, bend the left knee, place the left foot on the mat. With the help of the left foot, turn to the right side, using the right hand as a pillow. This asana is Dradasana. We can take some time and rest here. With the help of the left hand, we can slowly come up to any comfortable seated asana. You can choose to sit in Vajrasana, Sukhasana, Padmasana, Baddha Konasana, or Siddhasana. For those of us working on Padmasana, we can also come to Ardha Padmasana. Once we are settled down here, we can bring both palms together and chant our ending mantra together. You can also just listen to it with a deep inhale. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bringing both hands behind the back, we can inhale and lengthen our spine. Exhaling, we can lean to the front and rest in Yoga Mudrasana. Inhaling, we can come back up to our seat. Bringing both hands in front of our eyes. With a few gentle blinks, we can look into the palms and open our eyes. Thank you to whoever is joining and using this video for your practice. If you have any questions for any of these asanas, of the counts, of how to breathe and how to feel in each of these asanas, you can always write to us at myyogicbreath@gmail.com. You can also visit our website myyogicbreath.com and reach out to us on social media. Ask us questions, let us know how you feel about this video. Feel free to like, share and subscribe to this video, to our channel. Let us know how this video helped you or what else we can do to share more valuable content with everyone. And have a great day. Bye-bye.